Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. They owned you lock, stock, and barrel. And Dave McNally said that to a Baltimore Sun sports writer in 1986. The interview occurred about 11 years after Dave McNally retired from professional baseball, capping 14 years as one of the dominant pitchers in the majors, and returned to his hometown of Billings. Took up a second career. I'll tell you more about that later. But just after he left, and after he had gotten back to Billings, he took a lead role in what is considered the most important sports labor decision in history. It's called the Sites Arbitration Ruling. I know that's a mouthful. What the Sites decision, which was handed down late in 1975, did was overturn a long-standing practice in baseball dating back to its early years in the late 19th century called the Reserve Clause. What the Reserve Clause did was it made a player who signed a contract with a team, with a professional team, essentially their property. He could not go anywhere unless he was traded, and that was at the discretion of the team. The contract could be automatically renewed year after year after year. So players had little or no leverage in negotiating salaries, better working conditions. If they didn't like the manager, tough luck. You just have to hope he had a bad season and got fired, I guess. When the Reserve Clause was thrown out as a result of this arbitration ruling, it opened the door to free agency. Dave sadly died in 2002 here in Billings from cancer at age 60. He could already see some of the huge salaries, but I don't think he could have even imagined some of them that we have now. For example, I hope I pronounced this player's name right. I think he's from Japan. You may have heard of him. He's a designated hitter for the Los Angeles Dodgers named Shohei Ohtani. He's getting $70 million this year. There are two pitchers, Max Scherzer and Justin Freelander, who are getting $43 million apiece this year. Now contrast that to 1974, when Hank Aaron, Hall of Famer for the Atlanta Braves, was the highest paid player in baseball. He got $240,000 that year. If you adjust that for inflation, it's worth $1.4 million this year. So the two pitchers I mentioned are getting 30 times more than what he got, and Ohtani is getting about 50 times more, again, adjusted for inflation. You might wonder, does Dave's widow, Jean, who also is a Billings native, still lives here in Billings, does she get any thank you notes from any of these high-priced or highly paid players? I've had conversations with her. I haven't specifically asked her that question. Maybe I should, but I don't think she gets any notes of appreciation. And just so you know, Dave did not benefit directly from that ruling. He came back to Billings. He didn't get any money from it. His highest salary as a baseball player was $115,000. What did he do in Billings when he came back here? Well, he and his brother, his slightly older brother Jim, purchased the Archie Cochran Ford dealership. I think it was, at the time, I'm not sure whether it was still located downtown. It's still located out on King Avenue West with the same name. And baseball fans may say, that name sounds familiar. It is, because Mr. Cochran was the younger brother of Detroit Tigers Hall of Famer Mickey Cochran. That's a separate story, how Mickey Cochran got associated with Montana. What Dave did here in Billings, no muss, no fuss, not a prima donna. He helped raise his young family. When he moved back, Jean was pregnant with their fourth child. They eventually had 5 children. He played golf. He loved golf almost as much as baseball, and he volunteered his time for various charities, especially Easter Seals and muscular dystrophy. Now, you may wonder about his integrity. Here's a quick snapshot of that. After he retired from baseball, Marvin Miller, the head of the Baseball Players Association, got in touch with him and asked him if he'd be an insurance guy on the arbitration case. Andy Messersmith of the Dodgers then was already part of the case, and Miller was worried that Messersmith was a little younger, might get a really nice offer from the Dodgers. They were the richest team in baseball, and fold, and there went the case. But Dave, he had nothing to lose. He had played without a contract. He said, I'm not coming back to baseball anymore. What happened next was later that summer of 1975, Dave had finished his career in Montreal pitching for the Expos without a contract and decided he was done. John McHale, who was president of the Expos, came to Billings and had a sit down with McNally. He said, Dave, I'll give you $125,000 if you come back next year, and I'll throw in $25,000 as a bonus. Dave said, nope, not doing it. My arm's shot. I can't pitch at the level I've pitched not only in the majors, but as a star player in Billings for Little League and American Legion. Not going to do it. McHale said, what if I do this? You just show up at training camp next year, 1976, and I'll just give you $25,000. It's $25,000 gift money. Dave said, nope, no can do. So, as I'm almost a contemporary of Dave's, he's about 9 years older than me, and I did have one interview with him in 1978, and I remember, I found it on a digital archive site, and he said everybody was asking him if he was going to come back to baseball. I mean, he was the winningest pitcher at that time in Baltimore Oriole history. Surely he could make a comeback. He said, nope, not doing that. He was interviewed on TV once, and he said, you know, it's a lot nicer being back in my hometown when the World Series comes around. I can just sit in my den, have a beer, watch the game, and when I go around town, people say, oh, there's Dave McNally. I go back to Baltimore, everybody makes a big deal about me and says, there's Dave McNally, can I get your interview? He was a classy guy, and I'm glad I knew him, and I'm glad I'm writing a book about him. Thank you.